today's project is going to be based off of motivational words. Motivational words with a collage-like background. So this is kind of an example that I have started. What you will be using to create your project will be newspaper. You will also use colored pencil and pastels to create your project. So the first thing that you will want to do is try to find a motivational word that inspires you. You may look up on the internet, motivational words list. There's lists of 200 of them. They'll give them to you alphabetical order, different types of words. Pick out one that inspires you. And with that photo, with that motivational word, what you're going to do, I picked out the word courage. Courage was my motivational word. So after I found the word courage, I looked up images that invoke courage. And as I was looking through there, you're going to see a lot of people skydiving, jumping off cliffs, things like that. But one thing I thought of was some people that are very courageous are firefighters. So then from that, I looked up firefighting pictures. And then I found a really cool picture that I thought really empowers my word, which is this one right here. These firefighters are going into burning buildings, which takes a lot of courage to do that. And I thought also it would look really good with my background. So then I went to the dictionary and I printed off the section. I went to the dictionary and I just opened the section that had the word courage on it. And I printed off that page maybe 3 times. And then I took that page and I ripped it up. As you can see, there is words in my background to create my background. And this is all on the courage page. You might find the word courage in there somewhere, but it's going to be hard. But it is just the background. It's all about text, creating an unusual type of a collage background for your piece. So after you go to the dictionary, print off the page that has your word on it at least 3 times. Then all you're going to need is a glue stick. The next step is to rip up those pages. So if this was my dictionary page, of course it's going to be black and white. I'm just going to rip up sections like this. And then I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to make sure I get the whole entire area. Glue stick is a lot easier for this. Excuse me. You just don't want to get the glue stick outside, so the easiest way is to put your glue stick and on an extra piece of paper and then do this with your glue stick. That way it doesn't get all over your nice drawing paper. And then flip it over, stick it down, and redo the next one. You're always going to have some overlapping because you don't want a consistent pattern anywhere. It is just a background, so you want overlapping like that. So now you have your picture, and it's going to be printed in color since we're using color today. And you're going to have 2 different types of medias. One media is colored pencil, and the other is pastels. So with those 2, you're going to actually combine the 2 together on your project. If you want to use a grid to draw to help you keep your proportions accurate, you may. You can simplify your grids. Just kind of eyeball center the middle of your paper and eyeball center the other direction, and do the same on your other sheet. And that'll give you a good location. Start off with your larger shapes of drawing first. Like the larger shapes of drawing first, like the building. I had like this, the line here where the wood grain is at on the building, like in this area. And then I had some openings and doors, which this kind of plays right away where they're breaking in. There's like windows back here that were broken. Then I had a larger line back in this area. Then I'm ready for my firefighters and so forth in there. So kind of plan your layout. If that helps you to organize and keep your space so you don't go too big or too small, start with that. Then the next step is to start adding your color. You notice I have a little color all over the spaces that I don't even have anything done yet. Well, I picked out a color that I thought would work well for my picture. And you notice as there's a lot of warm or brown neutral tones in that area. So I did use a large compressed charcoal instead of the pencil charcoals for that background. But for this purpose, since that's what I have in front of me, I am just going to use my pastels for that. So I just took, the compressed ones are the big sticks, so those work a lot better because you can cover an area. And I just want to lay down a tone, and it's very light, and then I want to blend it in. You can see the pencils will do something like this. Another way to create that tone is to use a knife. And if you have compressed charcoals, I would just suggest you use the compressed charcoals. But you can shave off some of the powder, as you see what I'm doing in this area. You can do this on a compressed charcoal too. And then you can take a tissue, and then you can blend that in all the way through to get a base. So once you have your base started over the top of everything, now you're ready to start adding your values. You kind of have to pick and choose what you want to do, and you're just going to build. There's no right way or wrong way. You can start off with your colored pencils if you enjoy the colored pencils most. But I try to use a combination and try to figure out what would work best in what area. So I'm just going to choose some colors because I don't have all the colors that I need in front of me right now. So I'm just going to choose some colors just to show you what it might look like on the paper when you start building up. Okay. So like down on the bottom, there's a lot of grays and blacks and browns in there to get that wood, and I do have a lot of that, looks like. So maybe over in here I have like a darker border where you kind of would, you can come in, and then I would do my wood grain, and I make my wood grain like inconsistent and blotchy. But like where my planks are at, where the separators are, I might go a little darker, and then have some inconsistent textures in there because it's just wood. So I kind of build it up kind of blotchy. And then I can also build it up then with a little browns and my colored pencils. So I'll put a little two tones in there, and that brown from my pastel background is actually helping me. There's dark shadows when it gets closer to the edge where the floor meets the ceiling. You have a darker shadow there, then it'll kind of start to fade out. And this also gives you a lot of invented textures you can do in wood grain. You can make it look more wooden, but remember, you want to try to do a combination. So here now I have a little bit of pastel. If I want to add over the top, you can see the pastel is not going to go on where it is very slick, because if you press hard with your color pencil, it's hitting the areas where I have less pencil. So like this one, see there's no color pencil on there, so it goes on fairly easy. So now I can build up with browns. The color pencil goes over the top of the pastel really, really well, as you can see. So if you start off with a base of one, like your pastel, that works a lot easier than trying to put it over the top. But a lot of this is color pencil. I want you to look at your textures. There might be areas like up in here I have cross hatching to create like a shadow area. Smokiness, there's like smoke in this area, but I just use some cross hatching for a darker area, and then I just put in like grays and some warm colors that I see in the smoke, and I just blend it in to get that illusion of smoke. And then building up like all the fire and the flames, you got yellows, orange, dark browns in there to get that illusion. And then in the middle there's a lot of contrast where the heat, so I can use erasers then if you get a little dark in some areas. So anytime you have to lift, even on the firefighter, if there's some areas even in my wood grain, so I can use my pencil now like what we've learned earlier to take away, to do some lifting. If you want some lights in an area, that works really great. And I lifted because I had the pastel in the background, and I wanted it to be really strong area of emphasis right in this spot. So I lift it up as much as possible for that area, so when I do my firefighters, like with their hats, they're dark and yellows. When I start building that up with colored pencil, then they're going to be really a good emphasis point right here because of that strong light behind in that area. So your project deals with collage. First thing you're going to do is find your motivational word. After you find that motivational word, go to the dictionary, print off that page that word is found off, give yourself at least 2 to 3 pieces of paper. You're going to rip them up, glue them down, draw your subject by using maybe a grid, at least half and half if you have a hard time keeping proportions accurate. If you're not comfortable with that, grids are always a good way to start. Then you're going to take a compressed charcoal, the big sticks that don't have any of this wood on there, and you take a knife and you're going to shave off the charcoal, like what I did here, and then towel and burnish it in. And it's going to be light, so keep this area light, because you're going to be sketching over the top of it. Then you do your sketch and your pencil. Then you're ready to apply color pencil and pastels in an area. And just remember that if you put pastel down first for a base somewhere, and then do the darks with your color pencil over the top, it'll work better because the color pencil is too slick and it does not allow the pastel to go over the top. So if you need to practice, practice. If you can't remember, you'll figure it out right away. If you have your pastel down, color pencil goes over the top very easily. But if you go hard, you start doing your color pencil, and then you try to go over the top. Now it doesn't go on so easily. Unless there are white spots, then it'll go over. If you press too hard, you're not going to see anything because it's too slick for the pastel to grab onto. So, motivational piece is your next project.